Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Deep Space Nine Reactions. I am Fred. If you are new to the channel, I'm glad that you found us. If you are a returning viewer, hell, I'm glad that you're back. For those who are new here, essentially what I am doing is basically a long form reaction and conversation regarding each individual episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine going in order. I say full length because unlike other channels who who do the straight reactions to the episodes in questions, a lot of them are, say, first time reactors. For me, it's a rewatch. It's like I watched Deep Space Nine in 1993 season when it premiered in 1993, all the way up through its final season. I rewatched the show years ago when I had Netflix and the DS9 was on there as available to watch. And you know what? Figured why not, do an extended run of my favorite series because I've done it with Daria. I'm doing it with Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutations. Deep Space Nine was the most logical choice because Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek series. It's also what I consider to be the greatest Star Trek series of all time. With that said, for those who are new here, you don't see the thing, and we keep it obscure for DMCA purposes. You don't hear any audio from the episode with my videos because I treat this more again as an ongoing conversation. It's like stream of consciousness, as it were. So whatever comes to mind, and whatever Star Trek trivia, lore, stuff that I know as a Trek fan that can be applied to an episode, I will most certainly apply to the conversation here. Also, feel free to comment below. I do respond to every single comment, much to my own detriment. Positive or negative. Probably will get a lot of negative comments for the fact I'm wearing a Mass Effect tank top, representing the blood pack, but whatever. But still, before this totally goes off the rails here. This week's episode is If Wishes Were Horses. We're still in season one, but we're towards the back end of the first year of DS9. We can almost argue say the end of the first like half year because season one was basically in the first half of 1993. Season like from January to like May, June ish. And then season two premiered in like September, October of '93. It's kind of like a weird thing with when you have shows that debut mid-season, like in a January, like everything is it's shoved into one container of episodes. Voyager had that same problem as well. I was like, especially with first few episodes of season two, uh, certainly felt like season one episodes of Voyager. Then again, there were episodes of of 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of Voyager that felt like season one episodes of that show, as opposed to Deep Space Nine, which actually evolved over time. Anyway, yes, it's like we gotta get that pot shot in on Voyager. It's like kick it while it's down. Even though that there's going to be a video game coming out based on that show, still kick Voyager when it's down, man. Kick like anyway. So this week's episode, If Wishes Were Horses. What do I remember about this episode? This is essentially DS9's take on the TNG episode Where No Man Has Gone Before, where like imagination kind of runs amok on the station. Most people don't draw the connection between the two episodes, but I do because the parallels are just there. However, unlike in Where No Man Has Gone Before, Wishes Were Horses, relies more on the actual character dynamic and not some creepy as hell plot involving the Traveler and Wesley Crusher. So there's that. I know it's like what is it? This is the episode where there are two Daxes on screen. They're arguing, almost bickering about Bashir to different extents here. Buckbo Kai, who was mentioned in the previous episode, he was mentioned in progress, right? Uh, we see the character on screen in this episode, and watch last week's episode. You will see this like I draw that connection there. It's like, oh shoot, this I know this character appears in the very next episode. So yeah, that connection there, so like it is in place. Rumpelstiltskin appears, and I know there's. I will have to address something as we go through the episode in and of itself. Uh, and also an apparent threat that's not really a threat because again the imagination is running amok. So I actually remember quite a bit about this episode. So let's get into it. I think I'm going to be putting these on for work in about an hour after I finish recording this. It's gonna be a long day. Where's the play button? DS9. It was a Tuesday. No, Odo cannot let go. No, it is interesting though to see Quark's uh what's the word I'm looking for here? The establishment with little business, and Quark actually say pointing out that it's because they haven't had like a ship in a few days. So it's a so it's interesting here, and it actually sets up like if Quarks doesn't have any business going on, Odo has nothing to do because Quark's pointing out that Odo like just sits at the bar and like he's taking up space there. Morn, take a shot for Morn. He's in the background. The baseball mitten. Or Buck Bokai. Yep. It's an interest. It's like Odo panicking that Jake is up in the Hollows week, and Quark is saying that look, it's not what you think. He's going up there to play. It, is Odo gonna? Oh no, he sent a smell. But but that's a cool dynamic that that Quark is accommodating to the Cisco's. Okay, that Jay can't go up there to play baseball with famous players and such. And the fact that Quark has taken into like at least some interest and making a point about like being aware of opportunity that he's expanding that he sees an opportunity, okay, just like that he can see the opportunity to like, okay, the hollow suites are normally used for triple X rated entertainment for his customers. But if he expands, he can bring in another expansion, additional clientele, such as with like, okay, I have something for kids and families and whatnot. So it's it's forward thinking by Quark, and he also gave some like interesting details of like what he was imagined, like rides, things for the kiddies, a Ferengi at the door, mascots, and And Jadzia just putting Bashir into the friend zone, and the groan on his face is absolutely perfect. Like, drive a stake through his heart, why don't you? I kind of wonder a high pitched sonic shower being the equivalent of a cold shower. I can't imagine that will be too comfortable. But the dynamic here of Jadzia just of shooting Bashir down is is an interesting. I know it's not interesting here, but it's fascinating here considering there's the oh, what the hell was the name of the episode? It's a season 4 episode, I believe, uh, involving the fight going into like a gas giant, and they actually call back to how in that episode, Sax brings up how Bashir used to pursue her a lot, and it's this episode I do believe where that kind of gets like the pin is put in the pin is put into the balloon regarding Bashir and Dax's re- relationship. This being like more friends only because since he puts her in the friend zone box. So O'Brien reading a story with voices and stuff to Molly here, the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Uh, it's an adorable little scene here. I'll say this about Keiko O'Brien because this is the conversation I've had with Hero Fizzer regarding how, like he says, like sometimes the hair doesn't quite match the face. Uh, as like we had this conversation with Robert Kawakami in Persona 5. And Rosalind Chow's hair here, I'm not a fan of. I know it's like it's typical, but maybe it's the angle one not, but it doesn't quite work. I'm not sure if it's because she has like a headband or something. It's it's just a little bit awkward. No, she okay. That's what it's throwing it off. It's a headband. Oh, she's somebody's in her room. She's just appeared. Oh, Brian, how little do you know? Rumpelstiltskin isn't real. You'll be surprised. Why do you tell kids evil stories about dwarves that want to eat children? Because it's fun. So let's bring up the issue here that apparently there's like apparently nothing. Rumpelstiltskin was supposed to be a straight up leprechaun. Now, I don't know the time frame of when this episode exactly aired in relation to the movie Leprechaun, which starred Warwick Davis in the title role. But yeah, on those grounds alone, that should have been proven that it was a terrible idea beyond the Irish stereotype. It's like so let's actually point that out there. Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. If if there's like they were there's like chances are Palomini would have walked off the set if it wasn't changed to Rumpelstiltskin or something else of a diminutive stature. But if it was a leprechaun, it was like the only person who could possibly play that role would have been Warwick Davis. on the grounds, uh, on the simple grounds that he was actually, in the star of the Leprechaun film. So there's that would have been interesting in its own right. Although good work, Davis actually doing Irish. No, he did kind of. It's like it's been like decades at this point since I've seen the first Leprechaun film, and I didn't watch any of the sequels. If wishes were horses, oh, the smile on Molly's face when she gets lifted up there is actually quite is adorable. And let's also point out the makeup and the prosthetics on Rumpelstiltskin is actually quite impressive with the beard and the ears and the nose and everything. And it's just causing a he's just making a mess, man. He's making a mess. Like seriously. Where's the straw? Yeah, we know exactly who you are. We know who you are, Rumpelstiltskin. Well, we could have hoped that it would make you break in two. What do you mean you don't make deals like that anymore? What type of deals do you make? It's like, the security geeks. You know what actually would be great here? If he just tossed him around. A little disappearing trip going behind him, and it's like, yeah, move out of my way, buddies. Is clever as well. Damn, Cisco's just trying to enjoy his evening. Oh, he does have time for this. And then, hey, it's Buck Bokai of the London Kings. He brought a baseball player home. It's like, well, the Wall of Writers. Actually, here's the thing: the Wall of Writers, like, four of the names were the set were two people. And of course, Bashir's sleeping in his uniform. Is running their fingers through the hair, Dax. Like I said, just knowing that it is a version of Dax is just awesome. Also, Terry Farrell goes all in because at this point, she really hasn't had much to do in terms of like showing like different aspects of Dax's personality. Like we see a little bit in progress for sure, and that's where she's like gossiping with Kira in the runabout. But, yes, why are you fighting this Julian? Yeah, he does not have an answer for that. And of course, Bashir gets promptly blue balled by being summoned to ops. Like, why would that be a joke? Again, one has to realize that Terry Farrell is like 6 feet freaking tall. Who's been dead for like 200 years. Of course he is. I'm not sure. It's like, uh, is Rumpelstiltskin going to get medieval on somebody's ass? But Like wrong Dax ask. Two Daxes on screen, no waiting. Julian, you might have to do some explaining to do. It's like his ideal version of Dax because of his young, idyllic, immature mind. Everybody was starting to get hungry. What's a hologram? And it's like Cisco's just like totally trying to explain this to one of his heroes is nuts. He remembers everything. So when it says like what 42 is like, so that would have been like the 2100s, 2142, give or take. Like what foreign tongue are they speaking? It's called Technobabble, Rumpelstiltskin. Yes, you did come out of his imagination. I just like the fact there's a majority in the background, like hearing that line of dialogue, like they're turning around, like, "What the hell, Doctor?" Look, and you can't blame them. Can't blame them. But again, let's also stress the point here. Harry Farrell is 6 feet tall, which is when you real, which actually like at time has her like depending on the shot. Now you see a lot of shots of her sitting down, especially in the first season, or that she's kind of leaning a bit, so she is not appearing as tall as or taller than some of the other actors. But it's quite noticeable here when you, especially in shots where you have both Daxes on screen, and you see Bashir that she's actually a bit taller than Alexander Siddig. Yes, a yellow alert with against your own imaginations. Who knows what imagination? Oh wait, I do remember what Kira's imagination involves. A fireball. And they do use a lot of fire on Deep Space Nine. Yeah, give a full analysis, Chief. Or Jatia. Oh, this Rumpelstiltskin is like laying on top of the console lengthwise. Yes, the snow is gone, but now there's an ostrich running around. I can't imagine that would have been comfortable for Renee Audrey to like to work with a wild animal. I'm sure there was a trainer available, and of course, what do a lot of people imagine when they go to a casino? Winning. The dude is tossing down like a bag of stuff to bet. Take a shot for Morn. I'm gonna make that a thing. All ladies and gentlemen, all androgynous creatures. See, Deep Space Nine was progressive, folks. Stop using your imaginations. And Court coming down with two lovelies. Two lovely lovelies. It's a I just noticed one of them actually has an interesting tattoo. And clearly that's not like a drawn on tattoo. That is a tattoo that that particular person has. Yes, yeah, the Quark. Wouldn't you be surprised about all these people winning? That could be taking you to the poorhouse. Look, people are winning at Dabo. Yes, Quark, realize what's going on. Quark being desperate, wanting them to lose. But the power of their imagination dwarfs his. Like now Odo no longer cares, but at the very least, he has the lovelies to take care of. They give him some umaks. I also gotta remember never to do a recording of these at like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Is it really amplifying the rupture, Dax? Is it really like I know the whole thing is that it's actually what her imagination, her theories, what's created this rupture, of course. But there's also another twist, and we'll talk about that when we get towards the end. Yes, Bashir is having to wanting to apologize for his imaginary version of Jadzia. At least she's understanding. Yeah, matter of fact, the entire station has invaded Bashir's privacy. This entire situation has him think like how he imagines and dreams of Jadzia to be. What are you talking about, Dax? You've had like 7 hosts at this point, and you've been a young man at least a couple times. Yeah, she's not submissive at all. She's very assertive in wanting to bang. It's like it's like a drunken Tali Zora of Vast Normandy. Well, look, and we know for a fact Jadzia is not a cold fish. She hooks up with Worf, and there were injuries involved. Ooh, it was like when one is looking for Parmak in all the wrong places, injuries will be involved. Just ask Quark and Grilka. Again, it's like imaginary Jadzia is dropping a line like you won't know what you have missed. Again, is interesting because it is something that is brought up again in the season 4 episode where the Defiance in this gas giant. Boy, did that rhyme? Where she's trapped with Bashir in a turbo lift, and it's like she said you mentioned that she's missed being pursued by Bashir, but a lot of Bashir's pursuit of her kind of stops with this episode, other than some playful flirting and stuff going forward. It's gotta take a. I love the portion of the opposite that is the pit. Like it does get used from time to time for like maintenance shots for Brian, but why the hell is it being used here for what is clearly like a maintenance spot? There's there's there is no reason for him to be in this portion of the set. That this entirely looks like it'd be like accessing and working on the station computer systems. It's very unusual. I'm just so used to it being used for the maintenance portion when they go down into this portion of the set. But also, one has to realize Ops is a very tall set. There are some camera angles that get used that shows like because of the Cardassian architecture was like where Cisco's offices was Gold Ducat's office. So when Ducat comes out of that office, he is looking down on all that he surveys. So in the low, and so this is also an interesting bit here, putting all that in mind with this pit portion that O'Brien is the lowest ranking Federation officer well, Federation personnel. And he's yeah, he's a non-commissioned officer. The anomaly is going to eat the probe. There's nothing there. Kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, but it's a little thing that I noticed here is like the collars on the DS9 uniforms tend to be overly ironed or it's like flared a bit. For some people, it's like they give them like a little bit of flair, individual personality, and such. Like like some people have it totally zipped up, while Cisco's a little bit more zipped down than others. Who knows where it'll be? Oh yeah. Hey, if you can. Hey, wait. He's a switch hitter with good power from the left side. Like it's fun baseball banter there, and it's actually one of the first times we see with Cisco is like showing more of this side of the personality of his personality, non-related to Jake, and it's hey, give him his ball back. 300 people in one in his version, but that's a depressing thought. That is like the last World Series ever played. There's only 300 people in the stands. It's like, but no, I take that back. It's not, but it's not totally unbelievable. Where I lived, there was a independent minor league team called the Camden River Sharks, and I went to a game in one of their final seasons, and there were less than 300 people there. You could have sat anywhere in that stadium. But yes, they are aliens. For it ain't over till it's over. I like the fact that the actor playing Buck Bokai kind of delivers it in a bit of a Yogi Berra type of way. But this is the scene you get the okay that these imaginary characters come to life are actually aliens. That they are forming a connection with our crew. And this is actually a nice first time we're seeing this angle, I believe, of Cisco's office, where it shows that there's a couch and there's a nice little meeting area. It's a nice comfortable setting. There's also a ship there. Is that I think that's a model of a Daedalus class vessel on that's next to Dax. I should have pointed that out first, but I was just commenting on the actual set angle. That this they have this meeting area. Of course, later on they will add like an actual conference room for stuff like this. But why would they go down to a conference room, which is a different portion of the station, when you have this area here in ops in Cisco's office? It should be able to control the reaction. Like, well, it's a matter of like when would a system be destroyed? Rather quickly or very slowly? That is a dataless class starship, and how you can identify a dataless class starship, for those wondering, it typically has like a big sphere up front, one long cylinder for like the secondary hull, and two nacelles. Do a sweep through the pylons, and there's still more Who's imagining the ostriches? Who keeps dreaming up? Think of the ostriches. I'm wondering. Fireball! Fireball! And there's someone on fire. He's on fire! And he's not an NBA Jam. Nice fade out there, transition. You can imagine. You can clearly imagine with Kira, her imagination, like in her deep subconscious, like yeah, the horrors of the occupation, things she may have seen, and so forth. It's and this is also a parallel to the TNG episode I mentioned at the very beginning, prior to the watch through, where no one has gone before. There's actually a scene of someone trapped behind a wall of fire in that episode, where Picard is telling them, "Put the fire out in your mind." Of course, Kira not having much to do in this episode is is quite all right, because she got like a big character focus one in progress. A blonde and brunette are missing. Like, when you get off the street, there is no street. It's the promenade. Oh, wait. The two ostriches are the girls. There's a fascinating flipping twitch there. So it kind of makes you wonder how many of these aliens are there, because if coincidentally Odo is chasing those two ostriches, they go off out of view. He gets distracted by Quark, who's looking for a blonde and brunette, and here comes the blonde and brunette back the opposite way. It's a clever bit there. Of course, this is also a great scene coming up. It's like Odo says, like Odo doesn't have an imagination. Oh yes, he does. Because what is something that Odo will clearly imagine? In the background on the screen, on the monitor there. There he goes. Let me. Quark demanding to speak to the Nagus. He demands his lawyer. He demands his solicitor. Yeah, because you know it's an imagination. Because there's no way Odo will be able to successfully put Quark in a holding cell. I take that back, because there's at least one or two instances where he does at some point. But Odo saying it's like, yeah, no imagination. It's like, yeah, he has an imagination. It's just kind of subtle. Oh my goodness, this freaking outfit with Jake. The dark girl. Again, why with this outfit? Who who on the DS9 production crew liked this outfit? There's no way Ben would kill you. Not metaphorically speaking. Yeah, Jake is thinking, wondering if he'll get away with it. Oh, and an imaginary version of Cisco popping up. You expect him to believe that? So it's it's a fun little thing there with like Bokai's like being there more being applying a bit of morality to Jake. That's a very cute scene. Doesn't add anything to the greater episode, but it kind of shows where Jake's morality is. Like, can I get away with it? No, and it's like, and how like the mind of a teenager who doesn't want to do his homework, he wants to go play ball, wants to do. So we are now running into like the back end of this episode. It's like 6 7 minutes. There's just about that amount of time left in this episode, more or less. And I spent like about what 5 minutes at the beginning talking, so yeah. And probably like closer to 10 minutes left, give or take. Okai ain't too impressed. The schnoz on Rumpelstiltskin is something else, ain't it? And we'll comment on like, oh look, there's a vortex effect from Voyager, but this predates Voyager. And smiling and oblivious Jadzia is oblivious. They all view it as a threat, a danger if it were. And here comes Kira. I do like the turbo lifts on DS9. It's like you just have a handrail. The doors of it does not close. I take that back. Depending on where you're getting on the turbo lift, it is there are doors. Yes. Hold Dex, please. Hold her tightly. Wonder what real Jadzia is thinking of this, but she's probably putting it out of her mind. Red alert, Mr. Worf. Fire. Wait, Worf doesn't show up here for another 3 years. Activate the waves. Launch the technobabble. Engage the scientific sounding terms. Bashir having the best gig at the moment. Just holding on to a version of Dax. There was an explosion, and it didn't do jack. What's what? It is interesting here that everything that they're saying here is in relation to the rift being destabilized is just their imaginations running amok with because they were all discussing the theories of what could possibly go wrong earlier, and this is where things are clearly going wrong. And the station gets rocked. The power of the imagination compels you. Sparks are flying. Everything is going offline. Which would actually be every single other episode on Voyager, where it's like things go wrong in the last minute for a pull your ass out of the fire solution. What are you getting from the riff? Not a damn thing. She can't feel her hands. She can't feel her legs. Get him the first aid kit. It's like the question is, where will Bokai like know? Is he just feeling around for a cabinet until something opens? It's it's like kind of have to think about that a little. Unless of course again these aliens are clearly able to read the minds, or be able to pull like the technical data of where something would be. And this Dax dies in Bashir's arms. It must have been something he said. He just died in his arms tonight. How much time before it expands? They got nothing. Rumpelstiltskin wants to save the day. You gave him powers beyond those of mortal men. Rumpelstiltskin can leap tall buildings in a single bound. He's faster than a springing speeding bullet. He can apparently teleport Keiko and Molly from their quarters or wherever they were to Ops. I've always wondered, is this really Molly and Keiko that was brought to Ops, or was it someone else? Or is this like an imaginary version of them? No, he's not willing to give up his family. However, O'Brien will be willing to go on missions of where he will put his life in danger while sending his wife and daughter away on numerous occasions. Like it, it's amazing how much that is a trend in DS9 where O'Brien does that. Like he tries to get away from Keiko and Molly. I think that's, I guess that would be a typical thing a man would do. Like, hey, I love the family, but you know what? He needs his space. Drop the shields. And this entire bit here, the TNG episode Hero Worship, where it dropped the shields. It's like, go in this or different circumstances in that episode here. But it's fascinating that that there is that parallel here. Yeah, drop the shield. It's like there's nothing there. Just drop the shield. So like you'll be fine. And this has like a good little, it's a good little Cisco speech. Like, yeah, there's the imagination. You gotta believe it. There's nothing there. It's just Dax's imagination created this mess. Yeah, oh, she lives. And then she fades away. Well, you know what they say. Better to burn out than to fade away. There's still something going on there. Yeah. No speculations. Leave the speculations for like a ship that does not have to deal with consequences. Quark would still be looking for a blonde and brunette. So it is Molly and Keiko. It's like they should have been fade out there to indicate that that Rumpelstiltskin really didn't bring them. But he says like, "Oh, you created me with powers beyond those of mortal men." So there's the cop out there. I'm just gonna comment. That's not a very comfortable looking couch to sit on. This is just me. I don't like the fact that the knees or anything are not against like the front there. It's just it's a small couch. More ways than one. Nope. They are on an extended mission. They're on a 5-year mission to seek out new life forms and civilizations. Where there's like at least getting the explanation here, and using a fair amount of baseball terminology works about here. And they didn't put the station in jeopardy. Y'all did it to your damn selves. A fascinating power. Yeah, that's the thing. There's like it's amazing with the worlds and stuff that one can create inside their own mind, especially if you're a writer or if you draw or anything. Is like it's completely fascinating. The twist that you get, the twists and turns, the characters that you can create is like be just as real as anything else. Hey, he's right. You haven't told them about. Yeah, maybe next year, but they don't come back. That was a good. That was a cool touch. There was like Bokai turning and walking towards the exterior and a fade out there. It's almost like it's in a way almost Field of Dreams esque when Shoeless Joe and the other players and Terrence Graham go into the cornfield. That's a very neat little touch there. All right. But overall thoughts, it's a fun episode. This episode definitely has a lot of moments. Is it an episode that will folks will consider this to be one of the all-time greats? In the grand scheme of things, is it an episode that is overly important to DS9 as a whole, especially with how things, with elements that get with certain characters that start being introduced toward the end of the season, namely Vedic Win and then everything involving the circle and the introduction of the minion. Is this episode important in the long run of everything else going forward? No, it's not. Is it a good episode for the character development and the different sides of the personalities that we see with them? Yeah, it's like you get to see O'Brien as a family man. You get to see Cisco. It was like Cisco's character opened up a lot more beyond this, like say a conversation with Dax, or a conversation with Jake. Is like okay, you get to the scene where Cisco and Bokai are on the promenade talking, and it's like Cisco's busting his balls about yeah, you only had good power from the left side. Cause I from the left side, I hit 20 home runs with right-handed my first 3 years, and then never more than 10 after that. But that's because they moved me up in the batting order. So it's like, yeah, that's a, it's like it's a fun side of Cisco's personality we get to see there. You got some great moments with Quark in Odo. Jake gets to shine a bit. The scene where where Jake is doing his homework and he's considering going to the Hollow Suite. Well, Bokai appears as like, hey, it's what you want to do, and then and then an imaginary version of Cisco appears in the same scene. I would say that's a in and of itself that's another a character building moment for Jake, showing more of like okay, his, like the right and wrong. He knows what's the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do, and is like reasoning it out, and it actually gets like internalized instead of internalizing that type of conversation within oneself. It's like okay, it's now an external conversation. So that's a nice little gem of a scene. The stuff with the imaginary Dax and Bashir doesn't really add much beyond just like putting a pin in the balloon, as I mentioned before, that it is of Bashir just endlessly hounding Dax like a overeager puppy. It's and again knowing that they're going to have a conversation in 3 seasons talking about how she misses him pursuing her. Uh, it, it's uh, it's it's interesting, and again, knowing where Bashir goes, at least going forward, like yeah, he'll chase tail every other which way. but he more or less gives up on Dax following this episode. There's really not much in pursuit of him chasing after her endlessly. Kira doesn't get much to do, but again, she had the all the progress to work with, so her taking a background role here is more than fine. Um, and the Rumpelstiltskin thing, it exists almost perfectly to goes like, okay, they were able to take the full aspects of the imaginary of the description of Rumpelstiltskin and like no apparently no limits to his powers. That if O'Brien was of lesser moral fiber and that Cisco wasn't there to give a speech and like realizing like something isn't quite right, it's like Rumpelstiltskin like, yeah, well clearly I've taken Keiko and Molly. Uh, just picture that version of an ending there. It's like O'Brien going like, "Yep, well, I'm a bachelor again." Anyway, we're gonna wrap that up here, and then I forget what episode comes on after this one. But whatever that episode that is, we'll cover that next week. So as usual, like, comment, subscribe if you're so inclined. Thank you very much for being a part of this, my ranting and raving of the, and my tendency to repeat certain phrases over and over again. There, can't help it. It's like I have my catchphrases. So anyway, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see y'all in the next video.